This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Hey, gets a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of A's Cast Live on a Wednesday here in February as we are getting closer. Looking at the calendar, we got another show on Friday. We've got 3 shows next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
2.
2?
I'll be in Vegas on Monday. So 2.
Who says we need you?
All right. Well, better get Ray Jensen on the phone.
Yeah, we'll be back. We don't need you. We'll be there for 3 shows next week, and then, or maybe I take a day off, and then before you know it, we'll be down at spring training, bringing you all the players, all of the news, everything going on with your 2023 Oakland Athletics. This is what we have going on. We've got Stephen Nesbitt from The Athletic at 1:15. He's done an interesting article. So, how have teams essentially scored? And there's a rating system, and you had to be successful, or you could be docked points by not being 500. X amount of years not 500, you get docked points. And, you know, have you won a World Series? Have you been to a World Series, league championship, division series, wild card? How do you score? So you get points for all of this. Since we started the wild card era. The wild card era started in 1994. Even though we didn't have the playoffs, that's when it started. And the Athletics on this list are 13th. And they're 13th because they've made the playoffs a lot. Problem is they haven't been successful winning the playoffs. So they didn't get all the extra points that they would have gotten had they had won in the postseason. They would easily be top 10. And if they would have had a deep run at any point, really, when you look at this, if you had one deep run, it really vaults you. But if you had multiple deep runs, i.e. World Series, winning a World Series, the A's would be top 5. And I just wonder, as we'll talk to him coming up here in just a few minutes, because we have a lot to get into today, what that would have done for us ballpark-wise. A deep run in the postseason. Because look what happens for franchises in all sports. But you can just look at baseball. Look at the success of the Seattle Mariners. Would have been, the 95 series against the Yankees that energized everybody. A lot of people. Now, there are so many different things that go into getting a new ballpark. So I'm not going to you can't just say one thing, but a lot of people in the Pacific Northwest will give credit to that run, energizing everybody in Seattle, around Seattle, Mariners baseball, helped them get then Safeco Field, now T-Mobile still.
Yep, T-Mobile.
And then you can say the same thing in San Diego. Their run in 98 against the Yankees and getting to the World Series, losing the World Series. But it was just after that, the World Series, the town had the vote, and they voted yes on tax dollars to build Petco Park. That helped their run. Obviously, you know, now with a lot of teams not getting help from taxes, so you got to build it yourself, like the Golden State Warriors or the San Francisco 49ers, or like what the Giants did. But to get that tax money, it helped having that run. It helped being good. And then just even from a standpoint of the political favor, if you are paying for your own building and to have stuff go your way, having the city jazzed about what was going on. I mean, you could say back in the day, this helped Cleveland. And this is going way back to Jacobs Field, where they were building a young core. There was a lot of spirit. There was a lot of people excited. You know, we've always start out the season, the attendance is not so hot. We talk about school. We talk about it being cold. Next thing you know, here comes summertime. We're having more giveaways. Our crowds on Saturday, Sunday get a little bit larger. We start seeing 20 to 25,000 people there. And then all of a sudden we get into the postseason, people get all fired up and we flame out. Well, what would happen if we wouldn't have flamed out? What if we would have gone deep in 12 and 13 and beat Verlander? Right? What about, can't say really 2020 because that was COVID. No one was in the stands. But how about 18 and 19 if we went on a deep run? That would have been back-to-back wild cards. That was what, against the Yankees and Tampa. If we would have gone on a deep run then, will we be in the same place right now? I don't know. But it's an interesting article. Also really interesting and funny how hurt people are getting by it. Jim Bowden, something we've talked about here with 30 teams.
And we've talked about this a lot.
I'm way into this. So this article came out, and I'm like, I'm actually reading a full Athletic article on this one. The article came out about, baseball, once they can get Oakland and Tampa situated, I know we've heard that a lot, they're going to have to realign. And realignment is going to really hurt to the core purist. They'll get over it. They're going to have to get over all these new rules this year. They'll get used to it. Remember how big the issue was of the DH? Oh, my God. The National League can't have the DH. It will ruin everything. It will ruin everything. You can't have the DH. No. That's how baseball's supposed to be played. Even though everybody else uses the DH, that's how baseball's supposed to be played. The National League way, even though high school has a DH, college has a DH, minor leagues has a DH, and American League has DH. But there was this belief amongst these people that this is how baseball is played. And you're like, no, everywhere else has the DH but the National League. But you can't change that. And all of a sudden, the National League has a DH. The American League has a DH. And we survived. We actually survived. Baseball did not implode. Baseball did not shut its doors. They did not stop the sport. Kids are still playing it. They're still playing it in college. They're still playing at the minor league level. And they're still playing at the big league level with a DH. I know you thought Cody said that baseball, our jobs were gone. All these organizations would go out of business because they were going to use a DH in the National League.
Now the big thing is going to be.
Didn't you say that?
I don't remember if I specifically said that, but I know people were not happy about the DH coming, where we went over this ad nauseum.
Are they still watching baseball?
They still are. I know people are going to.
The sport still exists.
Still exists. Still pretty popular. Still very profitable.
Just did record numbers economically.
Yeah,
I think baseball is going to be okay with the DH in both leagues.
Yeah, and I know everyone's going to go, but the league batting average is the lowest it's ever been. Would you rather see pitchers hit 128 for the season collectively?
I want my pitcher hitting .048. So the whole point is we're going to have new rules implemented. There's going to be people who are going to be hurt now. Guess what? They're going to get over it. And then once they finally expand in baseball, and our buddy, the A's Hall of Famer, Dave Stewart, gets his franchise in Nashville, I don't know where the other franchise is going. Jim Bowden has it in Charlotte. Could be in Portland. I don't know.
Charlotte's interesting.
Well, they have that area. Now, my geography on this, they have the area. It's called the Triangle, and then Charlotte's a part of that triangle. And they have their tech companies, and I guess there's a lot of money in this. I mean, because if you've been to North Carolina, South Carolina, I was just in South Carolina last year. Parts of it are beautiful.
Yeah, people talk about Charleston all the time.
The Carolinas are beautiful. Certain parts are beautiful. Other parts can be a little rough. But whether it's Charlotte, Portland, whatever, the article is interesting because it talks about what we've talked about. expansion has never hurt anywhere in sports. You've heard that ad nauseum here. Didn't hurt the NCAA tournament. Didn't hurt the NBA. Has it hurt the NFL? Is the NFL struggling with it since they have more teams in the playoffs?
No, they got a big game coming up this weekend that's going to do record ratings numbers.
People stopped watching the NHL because they added more teams?
No.
They've added more championship golf tournaments. I mean, everywhere you go, everybody's expanded, everybody's changed. And so getting rid of what we know as the National League and American League, people were like, oh my God, that cannot happen. But we've talked about it. Let's bring Steven on from The Athletic. Steven, now that we have the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday, and your colleague Jim Bowden had the article about realignment, changing everything, and people have been very worried about expanding playoffs. Do you think the NFL is going to be okay through all this time when they've expanded playoffs?
They've done okay. We actually just did a series a couple weeks ago looking at 4 of the potential expansion cities. I wrote about Portland and Montreal. My colleague Andy McCullough wrote about Nashville and Las Vegas. So interesting stuff to look at. Jim was sort of a companion to all that.
Yeah.
But no, I think expansion has worked out generally pretty well. Although baseball, it wasn't too long ago that they were talking about contracting a couple teams in the early 2000s. It was Montreal and Minnesota, and that never quite got across the finish line. But I think baseball will be okay.
Well, and I think we're going to survive. We're going to survive with a DH in both leagues because a lot of people were calling my show telling me baseball wouldn't survive that.
I guess my call didn't get through. I've always been a big proponent of DH. I grew up in Michigan watching Tigers teams that were bad enough with pitchers staying on the bench and not hitting. And so after a bunch of years watching National League games in Pittsburgh, I don't need to see a single more game without a DH.
I would always say, listen, high school, college, minor leagues, American League, everybody has the DH but the National League. Everybody's doing it down to high school. So relax. We're all going to survive. Very interesting how you mentioned it because Jim puts in Charlotte and Nashville. We know Nashville's getting a team. I do a lot of work with our A's Hall of Famer, Dave Stewart. His group already has the money. Everything's in set. Nashville will be getting a team. It's where will the other team go? Obviously, we're flirting with Vegas. Looking at how Toronto, the way Toronto was lumped in here in their group, because they're kind of staying more towards the Midwest than the East, as the Blue Jays, they were going to be with the group that's the Ohio group. They would be with the Reds and the Guardians and the Tigers. That makes sense because Detroit and Cleveland are so close to each other. You throw the Jays in there. But if you brought Montreal back into this thing, wow, that really, or you brought Portland in it, that would really change when you say how we look at the East or how we look at the West.
Yeah, that would throw a bit of a wrench into it. I'm looking at it right now on our site. And yeah, Montreal would definitely complicate things. I don't really look at Montreal like it's that realistic of an option. I just don't think the current group, having just written about it, the current group on the ground isn't real interested in having a full-time team. And so another group's going to have to emerge. Another potential ownership group will need to emerge if they're going to flirt with an expansion and collect an expansion fee and all that goes into getting a team and getting a new ballpark, which they need as well. So you're right. Nashville does seem like a more likely option there, and it does fit into this footprint a little bit easier.
We love your article where we're looking at the wild card era. And, I've been telling people the wild card era actually started in 94, but we had the labor strife, so we didn't have the playoffs. So our first wild card teams came after that, but it really is 1994 when it started. And, professional sports is a what have you done for me lately, but it's actually nice to go back and look at, okay, let's see how teams have done. And you gave it a scorecard. You got positive points. You got plus points. You're in the World Series, win the World Series, league championship, division, wild card. You get minus points if you stink. And if you stink for multiple years, talk about doing this, going through the process. And I got to think it was a lot of fun to do.
It was. I'm someone who loves looking back at baseball history and looking at things with a little bit of context instead of just the what have you done for me lately. This is something I first tried a year ago, and it was very popular, but people had some thoughts, some ideas. One of them was that winning the World Series was a little overvalued, if that can be a thing. So it was worth 11 points, where losing the World Series was worth 6. 5, I'm sorry. And in my mind, winning the World Series and losing the World Series, which is still winning a pennant, aren't, one's not half as valuable as the other one. And so that was one of them, was to sort of tweak the numbers values a little bit. You can look at those on the story as well. But the other one was people didn't want someone sneaking in with a wild card to be just as valuable as winning a division. So we gave a plus point for that. And then if people want to address tanking, and they want to address tanking really hard, Chris, like they want to, if you ask the average, if you ask like the average person how I should grade this, from the comments, they would probably say like -1 for 90 losses, -2 for 100 losses, -3 for 110 losses. And my response is like, how bad do you want the Pirates to look here? Because they're already at -4, and if you get even more harsh, it's going to be it's not undeserved, but it's just there's going to be a hole they can never climb out of. So that was a little bit of the reshuffling we did this year, but I love it. I love going back in history and looking a bit. I was born in '91, so my baseball following lifetime is really kind of that wild card era we're talking about. Last year we first looked at the 30-team era from '98 until present, and we said this year it makes a little more sense to go back, and we'll just credit the Rays and Diamondbacks or won't knock them for the time they missed. But it's interesting. It's really interesting to add in the stretches of losing, where if you lost 90 games in consecutive seasons, or 3 in a row or 4 in a row, you're going to get docked points. That impacts some teams hugely. My Tigers, who I followed growing up, who were horrible in my childhood. The Royals, the Rays, certainly at the start of their time. So that did add another element to the rankings.
Well, I like it because our fans are always, what have you done for me lately? And our fans will always be, yeah, but. Because I'll have to say, listen, yes, haven't been to a World Series in a long time. Haven't won one and haven't been one since 1990. Haven't won one since 1989. But you've actually been in the playoffs a lot. Despite all the hurdles and all the issues, we've been in the playoffs a lot. And their answer is all the time, but yeah, when we got there, we didn't do anything. And I go, okay, that's fair. But that's what this scorecard allows you to know. Like, were you surprised? When you add it up, we're top 15. We're in the top half, not the lower half. And obviously, if in any of those years, the A's would have made a run and maybe made a couple league championship series and made a World Series, we'd easily be top 10 and sniffing in the top 5.
Yeah, I was surprised a little bit as I added them up because so much of this was an exercise of consistent performance, consistent success, consistent failure on the part of a number of teams here, and you're going to get credited and you're going to get docked based on that. And the A's have been consistent, even if it's not as positive as people want. Early playoff exits are always going to hurt. They're going to sting. They're going to stay on that resume. And they're hard to shake. I mean, you ask the Twins similar things, but if you can be a team that over the course of 28 years, I'm looking at 90 lost seasons, 1, 2, 3, 4, and coming off of one currently, only 2 of those in a row. That's like some pretty livable baseball, I think, as a baseball fan. It's not suffering through 100, 110 losses, frequently, and these sustained tanking stretches. Tanking has worked, unfortunately, I think, for the game, but I think there is some real value to that. But I understand that fans would certainly like to have made deeper runs. That's sort of the next step, right? Once you make the playoffs, you need to learn how to make it deeper into the playoffs.
Yeah, you think about the Pirates being under 500 for 20 straight years. It's like, oh my God, I feel so bad for them. It's such a great baseball city. And then I think about the Yankees. Buck Showalter started this whole thing with the Yankees, and then a guy named Joe Torre comes in, and everybody, I mean, as you said, you were born in '91, so you don't remember this. You might have read about it or seen documentaries on it, but no one wanted Joe Torre. Joe Torre was like, wait a minute. This guy has not been successful as a manager. Put him back in the broadcast booth. We don't want him. Well, that didn't age well because next thing you know, it all turns around. This young core coming up becomes great players. You got Jeter, you got Posada, you got Mariano Rivera, you got Pettit, and then they got the older stars. And really in the wild card era, the Yankees have been to the playoffs basically every single year almost. I mean, it is their scorecard, when you think of just the wild card era, wouldn't you say, is truly amazing. You see, this is when you actually look at the definition of what's a dynasty in the dictionary. I mean, you're not going to have decades and decades and decades, but in the sports world, this would truly be World Series, all the different. I mean, they're in the playoffs every year. This is what a dynasty is.
Yeah, putting the scorecard together a year ago was just a great reminder of how ridiculous that run they went on was. And look, we can look back at the reasons that it worked, and a big reason is all the money they spent before everyone else was willing to spend that much. But I think the chief complaint I've gotten here is people would like to see more of a recency bias. They would like that maybe it be weighted in a way that a World Series today means more than the World Series in 1998 and 9 and 10 and 2000.
Wait, why?
Because they want this to be, they want it, okay. What people want is for this ranking to feel like how they feel about what the ranking of franchises should be, which is the Yankees are good, but they haven't been the best, right? The Dodgers maybe have been the best. The Astros recently have been the best, which true, they have been. And I included the rankings for the last 10 years, which say in the last 10 years, the Yankees are smack in the middle, right? They're 17th, I think, in baseball. So there, if you want your recency, that's what the rankings, what's what the Yankees have been in the last decade. And the best team in baseball has been the Dodgers. I think it's somewhat obvious to most people, certainly in the National League. But the Yankees, what they did there for this exercise, we can't discount that. And to make the playoffs 24 times in 28 years, come on, that's what any other fan base would absolutely go crazy for. But it's the expectation there, and it's not a pat on the back so much for them. It's the expectation, and I guess good for them that they've built that.
Well, it is kind of our society. Everybody wants everything now, and they want to see it now through the lenses of right now. But that just because you're great for 4, we want to call a team that's good for 5 years a dynasty, right? And it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, to be a legitimate dynasty, you look at like what UCLA basketball did for all those years, or the Montreal Canadiens in hockey, or the Boston Celtics, where you have a period that's well over 10 years. People don't want that. People want it now. They want to say a couple of years, and you're a dynasty. It's like, whoa, a true dynasty is you got to be good through change, not the same manager, not the same player. I mean, the Yankees have had 3 different managers. They've had all these different players. They've had all these different guys, and to remain competitive in the playoffs, winning divisions, going to the playoffs it's amazing. And I don't care about the money. You still got to play the games. You still got to win the games. I hate the Yankees. We're Yankee haters. I just have the ultimate respect. Like when you look at the scorecard and you set the parameters, you set the rules, you set the wild card era, and that's what we have to go by.
Yeah. And I think there's something to a refusal to be an embarrassing product that some organizations have gotten, and some organizations I think have accepted that, we're going to put a product. The Pirates, who I covered extensively over the years, have put themselves in a position where we're going to tank, we're going to be bad. The Astros did it and it worked. The Cubs did it and it worked. And there are teams like the Yankees, like the Cardinals are another one that said, no, we're going to be a team in the running every year. And it requires a lot of things to get there. And it's easy to say you want to do that. It's hard to actually commit to that. But for the Yankees to have not even had a losing season since 1995, that's something that's special, even with all the excuses people can give for why the Yankees did it, a different way, or in a way that not every franchise could.
Yeah, let's reward people for never trying to lose. Let's reward people who say every single year we're about excellence. We may not win it, but we're trying. There's something to be said by somebody who never takes a step back when they're trying to win, right? If you're trying to win and you take a step back, things happen. Injuries, age, bad luck, whatever. But the whole idea that we're going to applaud teams who go through a complete dumpster dive and basically diminish their brand, diminish their fan base, and then all of a sudden they get good and people want to say, well, they're the model. I just don't agree with that. I think we should celebrate, as you mentioned, the St. Louis Cardinals. They have been a model of consistency. The Yankee, the Red Sox, they've had their time, but for the most part, they've been good. I respect that you have some franchises that have said, we're not going to go through the dumpster dive. We have too much pride to do that, and I respect that. And you know what? I respect that just not from a baseball standpoint, but how you run your operation and your business.
Yeah, and another thing that jumped out to me when I was looking at these numbers was like you mentioned, we were deducting a point for every consecutive 90-loss season. And the Yankees and Cardinals were the only ones who didn't have any 90-loss seasons. But there were 5 teams, and they were a little unexpected to me, that didn't get any points deducted, meaning they didn't ever have consecutive 90-loss seasons, which was Yankees, Red Sox, as we kind of expected, the Cardinals, then the Blue Jays and the Angels were the other 2. Angels, for as much grief as they get, they have been consistently okay. We're probably only looking at, I think, 7 playoff seasons over the course of the years, but they're stuck in the middle. I guess the middle is not the best place to be, especially in this day and age where that doesn't mean high draft picks and all that. Blue Jays are another team that actually just hasn't made the playoffs hardly at all until 2016, I think, was when they got back into the running. But interesting to look at the teams that have had sustained okayness, and I guess success is one way to say it, but I'm sure they'd love for a little more, definitely some more playoff appearances, despite not having any deductions.
Well, the article is 2023 MLB wildcard era franchise rankings. Where does your team belong? We say it all the time as Zeno Saris comes on this show weekly. We have a lot of guys from The Athletic, and it doesn't matter if it's baseball, football, basketball, sports in general. I know a lot of soccer, hockey, but The Athletic is fantastic journalism. I think everybody should subscribe. I know people get freaked out about subscribing to stuff, but it is worth it. It's the best journalism we have going, and I respect it. Thank you so much for your time. Let's have you on again and keep doing a great job.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, how about that? A's are 13th. And it's the only reason why they're 13th is because they haven't been one run. If you just look at points, if they would have gone on one run, league championship, then World Series, they'd be top 10, well into the top 10. A couple runs, they may be in the top 5. The A's have been in the playoffs a lot in the wild card era.
I have the article in front of me.
In front of you, that paper.
You want to go 10 through 1?
Wow, I know you printed that at the A's offices because that's got color in it.
I actually put it to black and white and it printed in color.
Because Cody would not print in color at his own home.
I don't even have a printer at home.
That doesn't shock me either. But you would, if you did have a printer at home, you would not.
No, black and white only.
Because ink costs
money.
Yeah.
My wife prints everything from at her hospital as well. All right, number 10, the Chicago Cubs have 29 points. They have 9 playoff
years. Cut that the World Series plays big for them.
9 playoff years, 2 wild card losses, 3 division series losses.
In the wild card era, the Cubs have been in the playoffs 9 times.
Yeah. Let's see. They went to the World Series or lost in the NLCS in 2003.
Yeah.
Then they lose to the
Giants. The Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood guys.
Yeah. Then they lose to the Giants in 2002.
90. They lost. Didn't they? What were they? They were in a wild card game against. I'm not a wild. They were in a game against the Giants in the late 80s. Mark Gardner started the game.
Wild card game in the 80s? That's not possible.
I mean, not late 90s.
Yeah, I'm going to look up their playoff history, but they're not. But they have.
Remember? Do you even remember? Mark Gardner started for the Giants. I was working at KMBR at the time. It's like 97, 90. Now 97, the Giants are bad. It was like 98, 99, something like that.
Oh, I thought it was going to. Oh, here we go. So we'll start with 95 for the Cubs. The Cubs missed the playoffs. Lost in the NL Divisional Series in 98, so that might have been when you're thinking. Then they make it again until 2003 when they lost in the NLCS to the Marlins. Then back-to-back years they lost in the divisional round. I'm assuming that was to the Braves. It doesn't have who they lost to. Then they lost in the NLCS, and then they won the World Series, and then lost in the NLCS, lost the wild card game, and then they missed the playoffs, and then in 2020 they lost to the Marlins in the playoffs again.
You want to know why they're 10th? Right there. World Series, NLCS. Those 3 years vaulted them big-time points. And winning the World Series is 11 points alone.
Yeah. That's
huge.
They get docked for consecutive loss seasons they had, or consecutive 90-loss seasons they had 3. So they're number 10. Number 9 with 30 points, the Philadelphia Phillies.
They got 2 World Series trips, including a Well, they've got 3 now.
Yeah, 3.
3 World Series trips, losing 2 because they beat Tampa, lost to the Yankees, and just lost again this past year. But that's 3 trips to the World Series, losing 1. That's a ton of points because they don't have a lot of playoff appearances.
No. Remember
how many?
They went from 2000 last year in the playoffs. They went like 11 years without being in the postseason.
Yeah, but So I'm saying
2011 was the last year, I think.
the A's would fly by all these guys because we've been in so many times, but we just haven't gone on a deep run.
Yeah, the only recent championship series once in 06. 8 is the Cleveland Guardians. They've had a nice run.
They've had a lot of playoff appearances.
They've had a couple World Series losses as well. 95 and
yeah, you got to remember
16.
we're going back to the Manny Ramirez, Jim Tomei, the Tribe, and I'll say the Tribe.
Oh, 97 too. Forgot they lost to the
Jacobs
Marlins.
Field.
3 World Series trips for them. 7 the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah,
well, that
three World Series
helps.
All wins.
Yeah, yeah.
That's max points.
And they lost. Then they lost the 1, obviously, to the Angels. 6 is the Houston Astros. That's all more recency bias, pretty much.
But isn't that crazy? That's 6 straight NLCSs, 4 World Series trips, 2 World Series titles, and they can't muster it because they were dog you know what for all those years.
They've been in 5 World Series since the wild card era.
Because they lost to the White Sox
in 05. Blummer.
Yeah.
Then
what else were they in?
They were in 17 when they won. They lost in 19. They lost to the Braves, and then
Would you say 5? They've been in 5.
They've been in 5, yeah, since 95. Okay. And then they also got knocked for having consecutive 90-loss seasons. They had 3 of those. Well, we know they lost 100-plus games. 5 is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They've had a nice little run of success.
Makes sense. 4.
The Boston Red Sox. Makes sense. St. Louis Cardinals.
Is that 2?
That's 2.
Yeah. Yankees and Cardinals have been so consistent. It's stupid. That's like, and you know what? You think about how we complain about not going deep. There's a lot of Cardinal fans, even though they win and they win World Series, they're still Cardinal fans. We haven't won enough. But you think of consistency between the Yankees and the Cardinals. Now, how far is the gap point-wise, wild card era, between Yankees and Cardinals?
Well, they're 3rd. Braves are 2nd.
Oh, Braves are.
The Braves got knocked for having back-to-back 90-loss seasons too. The Cardinals don't have any of those.
The Braves have every year. They're in the playoffs every year.
Let's see, they've won
the 90s.
17 division titles in that span. The Yankees only won 15. But the Braves have 78 points and the Yankees have 110. So what is that? That is 32 points. If my math's correct, right? 32 points behind the Braves are of the Yankees.
I have great news because I've been worried. Do you know what my worry has been?
Is it golf related?
No.
Then no.
Baseball related.
Ballpark? You've been getting
bigger worry than ballpark. Because this is something that affects me on a Monday through Friday basis.
The time of game.
This affects me Monday through Friday.
The show? I don't know.
Not even our show. What's my favorite television show?
MLB Now is back?
MLB Now has not been on. Like Brian Kinney was actually hosting High Heat today, and Russo showed up. Mad Dog, both friends of the program, but he's down at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Mad Dog's kind of busy right now.
But we have not seen MLB Now. And when I saw Brian Kinney, and you may not care, but sometimes a good host has to bring it back to himself. I care because I can tell you whether you agree with their takes or not. Is this fair?
Yeah.
Whether you agree with their takes or not. I keep forgetting which camera I'm looking at. I'm at this camera now. I'm talking to you people, not over there. I'm talking to you. Whether you agree with it, it is by far the most educated, informative baseball show that's ever existed.
I don't disagree with that.
There's nothing that even sniffs it. I mean, I know some people, baseball tonight. Nah, baseball tonight was let's put X players on and let's hear what they have to say. This is truly deep dive, hardcore, entertaining also, but it's the best baseball show breaking down the game. Yes, there's an analytics slant, but they bring on guys who are not like you get a guy like my guy Al Leiter who just craps on analytics. So you get the best of the you get ex players that really know how to talk about the game. You get executives, so they'll have executives on there, and you'll get top media personality. It is by far the best show. The news is, I thought it was dead.
Oh, well, real quick.
It hasn't been on all off season.
I wouldn't know because I don't have, my cable provider got rid of MLB Network.
You don't have a cable.
Well, my streaming service got rid of MLB Network.
grown-ups actually have cable and pay for it.
I don't know. If we could put that.
Oh, I know.
question
All
out
of you
there.
don't pay for anything anymore. You don't want to pay for anything. You want to pay like $5 for it. And you wonder why the world is what it is.
I pay a lot for my internet, though.
I had to go through my contact, my buddy Moses on MLB Network. Once I saw Kenny on High Heat today, I got scared. I'm like, oh my God, he's now
Moses, friend of the program, join us in San Diego.
One of the great producers at MLB Network said, MLB Now, still fine, still a show, won't start till the season starts. They provide us with great content.
Yeah, well, I mean, them and when I do get a chance to listen to Bowden and the Duke, or Farron and the Duke, Farron always says they're America's show prep, which I don't disagree with that when I do listen.
Okay, first of all, no one in America is listening. We're the ones listening. So they're our show prep.
Well,
no one else.
Shots fired at Farron.
I'm just saying. They got random people listening, and we're the one, me playing golf, listening to them. So that is good news. But yeah, go look at this article. It makes you kind of realize, okay, how's everybody really been doing? And you just start to realize, wow, Yankees, Braves, Cardinals. If you want to talk about consistency in a sport where there can be a lot of inconsistency, because you could say, oh, the Yankees have spent all this money. Well, they were spending money in the 80s, and they were terrible. So you got to spend money, but you got to be good at it. Speaking of money, you don't even know what I have for you today. You don't know, and you don't know. But are you ready?
Yeah.
According to my sources, and this is a credible source, the owners are meeting in Palm Beach, Florida. Do you want to know who my insider is? Should I reveal my source?
You never reveal sources. Come on, you've been in the industry long enough.
It's USA Today.
Bob Nightingale?
Bobby Nightingale has it in the USA Today that owners are meeting in not West Palm, just Palm Beach.
Oh, wow.
There's West Palm Beach, I believe, and Palm, but they're just going to be in Palm Beach, Florida.
I'm sure the weather's very nice there right now.
I'm sure Florida's probably in the 70s, high 70s.
I mean, we're supposed
Arizona's mid 70s right now.
We're supposed to be hitting 65 today in San Jose.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, Arizona, I can't wait to get down there in my white legs and shorts. All righty. You think they're going to be talking about this? There are 6 teams in Major League Baseball, led by the Mets, who have payrolls exceeding $200 million. Okay, let's write this down. So you've got 6 teams, 200 mil plus.
I think I can guess them.
Now, do you think that's good?
Yes.
Okay. You've got 11 teams who are under 100 million.
Not good.
That's negative. All right. So you've got
13, that's 11 and 6, right? So you got 13 and above, right in the middle there.
Yeah.
Between 100 and 200.
So, yeah, 13 in the middle. But problem is you've got way more below than way more high. And they're all going to meet. How do you think the discussions are going to go? Because clearly the 11 are not happy about the CBA that was agreed upon. And we heard about this. And I mentioned it. I kept mentioning it going, you guys all think the fights between the owners and the players, there's a bigger fight brewing between the owners and the owners. Because you think they're happy with the projected payroll for the Mets at $335 million? And that's not counting Correa's number. What he would have made it even more.
Yeah, they would have been hanging out with the larger tax somewhere in the $400 million range, which is just unbelievable.
So there was $2.6 billion spent in free agency by 7 teams. The rest of the 23 remaining teams combined for $877 million. So the 7 teams that spent 2.6, that's an average of $371 million. The 23 teams that spent 877, average is 38.1. So everybody's like, oh my God, look at all the spinning. It's great. It was basically 7 teams.
Yeah. Padres, Yankees. Dodgers didn't really sign anyone.
Dodgers didn't sign anybody.
The Braves sign anyone?
Oh, the Twins
with Correa.
Twins up being a team.
Yeah, I guess you would throw Boston in there because they signed Yoshida.
80, 85 million,
something like that. Yeah, maybe 90, somewhere in there. So he got money. Let's see. Does it mention who the teams are? The 7, or does he just say 7? Philly with Trey Turner.
Xander Bogaerts went to San Diego.
Yeah, so you got them. Let's see. Giants didn't really sign anyone. Toronto signed Bassett and Kiermaier.
I don't think the Astros with Abreu is going to count for that.
No.
But whoever the hell it is, that's what the numbers are. And I wonder how many of the owners are really going to chat about this. In the previous 7 years, just 3 of the 14 teams ranked in the top 10 in payroll. So 3 in the previous 7 years, just 3 of the 14 World Series teams ranked in the top 10 in payroll. So just because like look at the Rays. Rays got in there against the Dodgers. That hurts. Now that's good for the lower clubs, but spending money helps. Doesn't mean, because technically, I don't think the Nationals, when they won it, were one of the highest payroll teams.
I'm trying to think.
I'm just looking at the list.
I mean, they had Scherzer. Harper was gone, so you had Scherzer. Yeah, they might not have been because
Strasburg didn't have that big deal yet.
Yeah, and Rendon was on a smaller deal because he signed the big deal with the Angels.
So think about it. Previous 7 years, just 3 of the 14 World Series teams ranked in the top 10 in payroll.
I'm going to say Dodgers, Braves, and maybe Houston.
Houston right now going into the season, this is a team that everybody says is the great Houston Astros. They're ranked 11th in payroll. They're not even top 10. Astros keep winning despite not going into top 5 and doing that. They just keep winning. So I just wonder how are these talks going to go? Because you have a lot of these bottom owners who are angry about luxury tax going up, the ceiling going up. They're not happy. Plus, they're going to be going, hey, we want to expand. Expansion means huge money for these owners. Huge money. It's free money. It's like it's a cash grab. A lot of these guys, while they're still alive, get this big cash grab. Expansion. That's what it was for the NFL. Why do you think? You think about it. Think about everything we've been going through, everything Tampa's been going through. Just think about that, right? And in that time, the NFL, they told San Diego, Oakland, and St. Louis, get your act together. And they didn't. So what did they do? They moved them. Not only did they move them, but the NFL helped build SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, Inglewood to be exact, and Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. The NFL told 3 towns, get your act together. They didn't get their act together, so they moved them. Now, there's people in those towns will debate that, but it is what it is. You don't have the teams anymore. Left San Diego, Oakland, and St. Louis. They've built 2 stadiums. They've hosted a Super Bowl already at one, and the Raiders are getting one at Allegiant Stadium, and the Raiders have hosted the draft. All that has happened while we're still waiting around and Tampa's still trying. We in Tampa, all that's happened.
But Tampa's really excited.
Warriors have moved to a new arena, built a new arena, and hosted an NBA Finals
won the NBA Finals.
A lot has happened in other sports while baseball has been trying to figure out how to expand to 32 teams.
Hell, LeBron James passed Kareem before the stadium.
Unbelievable, all the stuff that's gone on. How many Super Bowls has Tom Brady been to? How many he's been to? What?
14, right?
In this saga of the A's in a new building, how many Super Bowls has he been to?
Let's see.
A lot.
Yeah, there was
10.
Pretty much. There was a stat about him too, by the way, not to go off on Brady, the newly retired Tom Brady, that the guy with the most playoff wins before, after 40 is Tom Brady. There was someone had it. I'd have to find it. I don't want to butcher it, but some of the Tom Brady stats you're going to find going forward after he turned 40 are going to be amazing, of just the level of success he had. But then you have guys like Trent Dilfer saying, I don't like the new era of the game. Trent Dilfer, who won a Super Bowl because of a top 3 defense of all time, is saying how Rodgers and Brady aren't that he's not impressed with the era they played in. So there's that. I don't mean to go off on a tangent. Congratulations, LeBron James, for passing Kareem last night. Pretty cool moment. Just want to get that in there. A lot of people, it was viewed all over. Of course, the image they took of LeBron with the shot, literally every person in the picture has their phone out. Right. Whether they showed Jordan making, our boss, Delaire, showed me a picture when Jordan made the shot over, who was the Utah Jazz player? He made Byron Russell. Literally everyone's just staring at it because phones were big then. Now it's this. There was one guy, Phil Knight, the owner of Nike, was the only guy not on his phone in the picture with LeBron last night.
And I thought it was cool how Kareem was very gracious. But you really, can I be a Debbie Downer here?
Yeah, sure.
Do you really think it's that? Should we really celebrate it? Do you think it's fair that we celebrate it?
I think I know where you might be going because I heard this take already. Kareem played without a 3-point line.
Kareem had to play 4 years of college basketball.
Yeah. That was when he was still Lou Alcindor.
Kareem was forced to play 4 years of college basketball and wasn't even able to play his freshman year. LeBron came out of high school. Kareem had to play 4 years. Kareem was the best player, arguably, in basketball while he was in college, but couldn't play in the NBA. Oh, yeah, and didn't have a 3-point line. But put 4 years, take 4 years away from LeBron. That's taking 4 years from Kareem. Let's be honest.
Yeah, LeBron.
Bet you didn't think of that, did you?
Well, I think you're going to go with the 3-point line.
But you didn't think about Kareem was forced to stay because they didn't come out as juniors. They didn't come out as sophomores. You had to be there for 4 years. 4 years. And at that time, I heard the stat today. And Kareem couldn't play. They wouldn't allow freshmen to play. But when Kareem was able to play, UCLA was like 88-2.
Yeah, they never lost. Their team was unbelievable.
He was literally better. I mean, Russell, Chamberlain, I get it. But Kareem was forced to play 4 years of college basketball that LeBron never had to. So great accomplishment by LeBron. Love LeBron. I think he is no doubt one of the special athletes of all time. I think he's a salt of the earth type person, what he does for people away from the court. And I think people who criticize him and say he's not Jordan, let me tell you something. Michael Jordan was all about one thing.
Michael Jordan.
That's not LeBron James. I'll take LeBron James as a person over Michael Jordan any day of the week. He's helped kids go to college. He's helped put food on tables. LeBron James, what he's done in Akron in his hometown, what he's done in Cleveland, everywhere he's been, LeBron James is a great man. So congratulations to LeBron James. I'm just joking. It was a great feat. I do want to give Kareem his due.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've interviewed Kareem. It was one of the special moments of my career. It was really cool because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is amazing. But yeah, LeBron James should be celebrated. He's one of a kind. I mean, not many human beings are that big and move like that. They don't come around often.
I don't think we'll ever see another athlete like him.
Okay, whenever you say that, then you know what happens. Another athlete comes just like him.
Maybe next generation.
But there will always be another one. There's never been somebody who someone didn't come later on and do great things to. There's never been that. Never, ever, ever has there ever been. We've always found people who can run faster. We've always found people that could break records. It's always happened.
The wild thing, too, about LeBron, yes, he's number 1 in scoring now, points all time. He's also 4th in assists for, what is he, a 6'8" forward who's really a point guard. But he's a point forward is what we should call him. The guy is unbelievable. 4th all-time in assists, too. It's not like he's just a scorer and that's it. 4th all-time in assists is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, you're dealing – when you think about LeBron, you think about Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady's run is just of excellence. It's incredible. Tom Brady was drafted by Gary Hughes.
In the Montreal Expos.
By the Montreal Expos. What round was it? He was drafted as a catcher. 1995. My last year at San Jose State Baseball. 1995. They got a story in here about because Brady knew A-Rod. All these guys know each other. You know how they always know each other. Is there a biogenesis involved in that one? So Brady, so A-Rod gave Brady Ichiro's number. Ichiro gets a text, and Ichiro says he's talking to one of the coaches that this guy that A-Rod knows texted him. The Mariners coach says, "What's the guy's name?" Ichiro says, quote, some guy named Tom Brady. Who the bleep is Tom Brady? This was back in the day. Ichiro, because Tom Brady wanted to know about his stretching program. I guess Ichiro has a legendary stretching program.
The guy played until in his 40s. I mean, I don't discount it. Well, I mean, so did Brady. Brady played to be till he's 45. Then he hung it up. Not to get off too much in the NFL, but hey, Aaron Rodgers is going to take a darkness retreat, and then he's going to contemplate his future, and maybe he will be a Raider.
Why do you know why do you think he's going to a dark retreat?
I don't know. Black hole.
Because he's seeing the light. He sees the light through the darkness, and that is the silver and black of the Raiders. He will be a Raider. Mark my words. No sources have said anything to me. I'm putting my money on it. He will be a Raider. And the Green Bay Packers will become irrelevant very fast.
Yeah,
their days of going to the playoffs every year will be over.
Yeah, it's because the Lions are coming in that division.
Not your Bears with Justin Fields, another overrated Ohio State quarterback.
Oh, the kid in the draft this year from Ohio State looks to be good, but who knows?
Yeah, good luck. Okay, coming up next.
Are we going to talk relocation?
Realignment.
Sorry.
Relocation's a dirty word around here right now. Realignment. But there's one team that's the problem. One team. We just can't figure it out. There's one team that's a fly in the ointment. Now, there's going to be 32 teams, but one team is a royal, as my father used to say, you're a royal pain in the
bleep.
Who is this team? You'll find out next right here on A's Cast Live.
It's that time of the year. Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2023 season. Secure your tickets for some of the biggest matchups, fireworks, drone shows, giveaways, and more. From opening weekend against the Angels to the 50th reunion of the 1973 World Series team to unique giveaways like Pit Viper glasses. There is so much happening at the ballpark this season. Don't miss out on other homestands as we take on the Giants, Padres, Yankees, Cubs, and Braves. Visit athletics.com/tickets to get yours now. That's athletics.com/tickets.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Barrie locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
A's GM David Force stopped by A's Cast Live to talk about Shintaro Fujinami.
Yeah, you don't do a whole lot of press conferences. What do it mean, as we're just going to call him Fuji, as you get your big right-hander, really like a small forward? I didn't realize he was this tall.
He's a big dude. Yeah, even when Billy walks in and says, damn, he's big, you know that he's a big guy. So it's been fun getting to know him over the last few days and spending some time with him. But, I mentioned earlier, our guys in Asia did a great job with scouting, and it was great to be able to bring this one in.
Yeah, I when I learned about the signing, we were actually down in Arizona at the time at Fantasy Camp and started looking him up and trying to remember him from the World Baseball Classic. He was like a $175, $180 in these, and then you now look at him, he's put on weight.
Yeah.
He's filled out. Just talk about what you've seen, especially we've heard the last 3 months about velocity in the split finger.
Yeah, I mean, you think about a guy who's been in the big leagues for 10 years over there, and you don't think about a guy who's still really developing, but he was in the big leagues at 18 years old. So he's really, matured over his career, obviously went through some difficulties in 16, 17 with command. He even spent some time in the minors the past couple of years, but we really did a good job following him through the minor leagues, staying on him, and his last month and a half in Japan, he made a couple starts in August where he dominated, and we watched a lot of video, talked a lot about him leading into the off season, and then really just stayed on this deal until we got it done.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Fuji, Shintaro Fujinami was on A's Cast Live and shared his excitement to join the A's rotation.
How excited are you to get in a starting rotation and go every 5 days for this organization?
スターターのローテーションに入ることにどれぐらい、興奮してますか？
もちろんスターターやりたいと思って MLB に挑戦したのもありますし、スターターできること、スターターとして勝負させてもらえることをすごく幸せに感じてます。
They offer me a starting position, so I'm very excited. I wanted to be a starter in the MLB team, so that's about to be happening, so I'm very excited about it.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Some things just go together. Peanut butter and jelly, cookies and milk, Oakland and Kaiser Permanente. If that last one caught you off guard, it shouldn't, because Kaiser Permanente has been helping keep Oakland healthy since our very beginning. And as the official healthcare partner of the Oakland A's, that won't be changing anytime soon. Whatever you may need, you can trust Kaiser Permanente to help keep you feeling your best. Kaiser Permanente. Thrive. Visit kp.org today.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
All right, quickly. So last 7 years is three teams. And we think we know who. Just 3 of the 14 World Series teams ranked in the top 10 in payroll. That would, of course, would be the Los Angeles Dodgers. So they make up for 3 of the 14.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were in 3 times. So they're in. Phillies, we know last year, were the 3rd highest payroll in baseball. So they're in. The 3rd would be, I already told you because I did the research. But do you know?
The Red Sox?
The 2018 Red Sox had the highest payroll in baseball.
Dave Dombrowski.
Everybody else, though, wasn't a top 10 payroll team that was in the playoffs. So everybody's freaking out about payroll. Doesn't mean anything.
I think this year, you saw that the payrolls here. I think the Braves are now a top 10 team. Obviously, I'm thinking of the teams now that weren't then who are a top 10 team. The Braves are, obviously the Padres are. These are teams also paying. I'm thinking, when you said the luxury tax or 6 highest payrolls, it was like Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, Padres, Phillies, and one other team who are going to have to pay the luxury tax, I think, if I remember correctly.
I don't see the Padres in any of these World Series.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm thinking more of the luxury tax for this upcoming. From this past season till now, they're going to have to pay the luxury tax. That came out a couple weeks ago.
Okay. I want everybody to know that you do have people who read titles and then they skip all the paragraphs and then they go straight to the meat. And everybody went to school with people who didn't read directions. And they always had that, they always gave you that test, right? Where they give it to you and people would immediately start filling it out. But the test was you were supposed to read that. You don't take it the test yet. And they'd catch you on that one. Remember that?
Yeah.
There are always the people that don't read the directions. They just go straight to start doing the test. And they don't want to read the stuff. And that's basically what happened with Jim Bowden's article when he put it out there about, hey, listen, 32 teams, baseball's going to go to it. They're going to need to do something to realign. And now that you have 32 teams that baseball's want to do like the NFL, you can truly realign and make everything easier. Make travel a lot better. So the West Coast teams are not at a disadvantage because they travel way more than the East Coast teams. How can we make that a little more even? And you're going to have 4 teams per division. So what's the best way to do it? So they gave the expansion teams to Nashville and Charlotte. So Dave Stewart, you're in. Problem is when people saw this article on Twitter, they immediately went to see just what the divisions were, and they reacted and they flipped out, and they were saying a lot of nasty stuff. And it's like, well, if you would have read the directions said if they expand, they're going to have to realign, and this is what makes best sense. And yes, you're going to basically get rid of the American League and the National League. You'd have a Western Conference and an Eastern Conference. We're fine with that in other sports, and everybody's going to flip out about it, but trust me, after a year, you wouldn't care anymore. But the fact that people really didn't read why Jim Bowden did this, they just went straight to the divisions, and I can't believe you put the Mets and the Yankees. Well, we're putting everybody close to each other. It's called a map and geography. So we're going to take all the teams in Southern California and put them together. Why? Because they're all next to each other. Because the days that the Reds and the Braves and the Astros were all in the National League West was a joke. And the American League West, A's fans, the fact that the Royals and the White Sox and the Twins were in the West was a joke. We're now going to do it right. We're going to look at a map. I have in front of me the map of the United States of America. And you can see how this all makes sense. But there's one problem. The Colorado Rockies. They're a problem. They're an absolute problem. And they're in the middle of the country. They're actually close to the Royals when you look at the map. But that's about, their closest teams are really St. Louis and Kansas City. You got nowhere to go. Look at the state. Do we have a baseball team in Nebraska?
No.
Do we have a team in South Dakota?
No.
North Dakota?
No.
Montana?
No.
Idaho?
No.
Wyoming?
Nope.
Utah?
No.
New Mexico?
No.
Oklahoma?
No.
These are all the states that are around Colorado. I'm looking at the map. And the Royals, they're on the they're Kansas City and Missouri, they're the furthest you can get from their border with Colorado, the great border of Kansas, Colorado. Seriously, there's nowhere to put them. So you know who's got to swallow it? You know who's got to suck it up? We do. It's unfortunate, but I understand it. I'm not going to, let me get my helmet in here. I'm not going to hate on it. It's just somebody's got to take them. So let's go over this and just show you how it makes sense. We've talked about it a lot. Do you have any problem other than the Rockies?
No.
They have to play somewhere. You gave them a franchise. They've got to play in some division.
No, and the division would be the Pacific Division is what we call it in the Western Conference. Remember, there'd be 8 total divisions in 4 in each conference. So the division would be the Pacific.
And let's start with the green and gold. Makes sense. We've said it. I've said it over and over again. It is ridiculous we're not in the same division with the Giants. It's ridiculous. We're 13 miles from each other. If you did the tape measure, started the Coliseum, went to the water, took the boat over to we're like 13 miles from each other. How are we not in the same division? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's like saying, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have UCLA and USC not be in the same. We're not going to have the Clippers and the Lakers in the same.
I was waiting to see where you went with USC, UCLA.
We're going to put UCLA in the Big 12, and we're going to put USC in the Big 10. No, they're in the same town. They're in the same league. It's called how rivalries work. It's ridiculous. Dodgers and Angels are not in the same division. It's ridiculous that the Cubs, because you now that's what interleague play gave us a little bit, but now you could truly have crosstown rivals. Yankees Mets should be in the same division. It's going to spice it up. Because you're trying to tell me this Rangers A's rivalry is really heated up? No. So I get it. Us Giants, great. I want to stay all in California, but I know somebody's got to swallow the Mariners and the Rockies. That's the only thing that sucks. We cannot shake the Mariners. There's no way for us to shake the Mariners. They're like the bad neighbor you can't get rid of.
Yeah, they're always going to be there.
And unfortunately, we're going to get the Rockies. It's just the way it is. We're going to get the Rockies. So it's Rockies. Now, I'm going to say Denver's a nice town. I've had some really good times in Denver. So if you're saying as a road trip, going with the A's, Denver's a cool spot. Coors Field's a beautiful ballpark. Good food, good people, good downtown. I like Denver.
I've only ever been to the airport. My wife's been to Coors though. She swore that was
a fun spot.
Yeah,
she
liked Denver too.
I've had some good times in Denver. Seattle, great city. Having a lot of issues, but great city.
All-Star games there this year.
All right, West Division. This totally makes sense. Dodgers, Angels, Padres. They're all. I mean, it's all right there.
Geographically pretty close.
All right. And then Arizona. And then you got to realize Arizona is made up of a bazillion transplants from Southern California. We need to get one of our Arizona experts on. I would say if you talk transplants, Southern California to Arizona is the biggest group of people who've migrated to the desert.
I'm just going to do a quick Google map search of how long it is driving-wise from Dodger Stadium to Chase Field in Phoenix. 6 hours a drive.
Do the Big A.
Angels. Big A to Chase Field in Phoenix, 5 hours, 58 minutes.
So it's closer to go to Anaheim. Put San Diego.
And then Petco.
Because San Diego's more of a straight shot to Arizona.
5.5. So literally it's 5.5, 6, 6.5.
And then you're talking the Big A. Do the Big A to San Diego.
Okay. Angel Stadium to Petco.
No,
Petco to Angel Stadium.
Not barring traffic.
We'll do it the other way. Angel Stadium to Petco.
Oh, they're showing traffic.
Yeah, 1 hour and 51 minutes. It's almost 94 miles.
Yeah, it's really, I've done that drive a bazillion times. You can get to Disneyland. Petco's downtown. I grew up next to San Diego State. You can get to Disneyland in basically an hour. No traffic.
And then Dodger Stadium to Petco is.
Well, you're in traffic,
yeah.
So it's not.
It's only 3 hours and 3 minutes.
It's traffic.
123 minutes.
Yeah, but what's it miles wise?
123 miles.
120. So see, they're very close to each other. So that division makes total sense. D-backs, Angels, Dodgers, Padres makes total sense. All right, we head to the Southwest Division. Makes sense. You've got Rangers, Astros. They're in Texas. Makes sense to have St. Louis and Kansas City. The reason why St. Louis has a major following when you look at the map, if you go below in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, their radio station for all those years. That's why everybody grew up a Stan Musial fan in the Midwest. All those cities love the Cardinals. The Cardinals still have a massive fan base in Texas that even rivals at times the Rangers, because these people all grew up Cardinal fans. You got Cardinal fans in Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois even. Well, put it this way. The Marion Mule was who?
Ray Fosse.
The great Ray Fosse. Ray Fosse grew up in Illinois. Ray Fosse grew up a St. Louis Cardinals fan. Stan Musial was Ray Fosse's favorite player. Even though Illinois has Chicago and has the Cubs and the White Sox, all those people from Western Illinois, because they're like right on the border, right, of St. Louis, they're all Cardinal fans. So there's Cardinal fans. So that division makes total sense.
Just so you, a flight from Houston to St. Louis, an hour and 50 minutes.
This makes sense. Astros, Royals, Cardinals will fit the Midwest division of the Western Conference. And already you're cool with Western Conference because it sounds like the NBA, where the Warriors play.
Western Conference.
Where the Lakers play.
Western Conference.
Where the Clippers play.
Western Conference.
I think everybody's kind of okay with the Western Conference.
If you throw in the Kings, y'all, they're all in the same division in the West.
Sacramento, I forgot about you. Passion for purple. My apologies. Midwest division. This makes great sense. Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, Twins. They're all drivable.
Actually, you know what? I'm curious what is the drive like from Wrigley to Wrigleyville, Chicago, to what's their
the Brewers
guaranteed? No, I just want to see how far it is from Chicago to the where do they play? What side of Chicago?
West.
Well, the
east
side, north side.
South side.
Well, we can't fly there, so it is 11 miles between the two.
And they're not in the same. They're actually, the Cubs are closer to the White Sox than we are to the Giants, and they're not in the same division. What a joke! All right, go. Milwaukee's a quick drive because my buddy AJ's done it. Chicago to Milwaukee is not.
There we go. From Wrigleyville, Chicago to American Family Field, and it's an hour and it's 90 miles. That's what traffic is, an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's 89 miles. It makes sense. Cubs, White Sox, Brewers. So those are your divisions in the West. It's a Midwest division of Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, Twins. Southwest division is Astros, Royals, Cardinals, Rangers. West division is D-backs, Angels, Dodgers, Padres. And then the Athletics will be in the Pacific division. Giants, Mariners, us, and the Rockies. Somebody's got to take the Rockies.
Yeah, the only one
we've got to wear it. Somebody's got to take the Rockies.
The only one in the division with the Midwest division in the West. It's like 6, and so it's 400 miles from Chicago to Minneapolis.
How much?
400, about like 410, and that's not that bad. How long's the flight? The flight from?
Oh, it's a
hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, seriously. These all make sense. Now let's go to the Eastern Conference. When I think Eastern Conference, I think Celtics,
Knicks,
Sixers, Heat,
Cavaliers,
Hawks.
I think Charlotte Bobcat. I'm sorry,
Raptors,
Charlotte Hornets. Now,
what are they?
Charlotte Hornets, the Orlando Magic.
Shaq's still playing for them.
Don't you dare forget the Bulls.
CNN reporting Disney cutting 7,000 jobs.
And a lot of people are.
By the way, I played golf with yesterday with one of the 12,000 laid off from Facebook. I mean, Salesforce.
Oh, wow. They did it too.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's got 8 months to figure out his golf game and to find a new job. It's nice to work for a tech company. All right, we head to the Eastern Conference. Where do you want to start?
Eastern. Let's do everyone's favorite. Let's talk about the East.
All right, the East. Conference. This makes total sense. Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, Phillies. I've done the train ride from Philly to New York. It is simple. It's literally nothing. They all make sense.
Yankee Stadium to Citi Field It's about 10 miles.
That's the closest we got. The closest rivalry we'll have will be Yankees-Mets, going from borough to borough. So totally makes sense. Philly, always close. We saw Giants-Phillies just recently in the playoffs, the NFL playoffs. Philly, New York, great rivalry with Boston. Totally makes sense. Let's go to this one is not that big of a stretch. I think you think it's a stretch, but it's not if you know your geography. The North Division, because Cincinnati is not considered North, but you have the two Ohio teams. You got Cincinnati and Cleveland. Now, Detroit is just on the other side of the lake from Cleveland. Do the flight. We did the flight. I was on one of the road trips. It was Cleveland to Detroit. I think the flight was 15 minutes. Now, that's in a, obviously, commercial. That's not a commercial. That's private. In a private, it's literally 15, 20 minutes. Glen Kuiper coming up here in a couple minutes will back me on this.
Okay, that's not correct. Why is it's Comerica Park, right? That's what the Tiger Stadium's called?
Yeah, it's always been Comerica.
There we go. So from Progressive Field in Cleveland to Comerica Park, it's 168 miles.
Do flight.
I
Well,
think
you can't even fly. They don't even have flight, do they?
let's see. We'll just do Cleveland to Detroit because obviously that's probably the closest airport.
Yeah, you just fly. Which lake is that?
It doesn't have a flight available.
Is it Lake Superior?
No, this is Lake Erie. This is Lake Erie.
Okay. I mean, it's lit. I mean, we did it Cleveland to Detroit. It's like 15 minutes. So that makes sense, right? And then Toronto, go north. Toronto is just on the other side of right above Michigan, right? Isn't it? Almost?
Because
maybe a little bit east of that?
Here, I'll just do it from here. My wife's family grew up in Detroit, and I always joke that they're from Canada.
Yeah. It's not. It makes total sense. Detroit to Toronto.
Okay, Detroit to Toronto, driving wise, 231 miles, but if you fly, it's an hour 10.
Yeah. So they really make sense. You keep the two Ohio teams, makes total sense. All right. Mid-Atlantic Division.
Oh, here we go.
So now we start heading a little more west, but we're still East Coast centric. You're going to obviously have the Nationals and the Orioles together. They call it the Beltway.
Yes.
All right. So you're going to have those together. And then this is where you put the Pirates. The Pirates is kind of geography-wise fits right in Pennsylvania. And then you have Charlotte, which is south, but a little bit north-south.
Yeah.
All right. So if you look at the map, those teams make sense. And then this one, you cannot say this Southeast Division. This says it all. Atlanta, Tampa, Miami, Nashville.
Yes, I agree with that.
I'm telling you, that's why I teased. You got that tease, right? They said there's one team. It's one team that throws a wrench in everything. It's the Rockies.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's got to take on the Rockies. All these other divisions make total sense. Makes sense. And I know, but you can't get rid of the American League. You can't get rid of the National League. Yes, we can. Everybody's playing each other now. Everybody has a DH. There is nothing different about the American League than the National League. There's nothing. Except your history. There is zero. You got to realize back in the day, the National League and the American League were absolutely separate. The American League had their own president. The National League had their own president. Those days are over. There's one commissioner. Everybody's under the umbrella of Major League Baseball. Everybody plays by the same rules, and now everybody plays each other. And now you're going to get two more teams to make 32. You got these 8 4-team divisions. I don't see what the problem is other than we've got to adopt the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah. By the way, from Miami to Nashville flight, 2 hours, 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's just the Rockies. You just have to find they're out in the mountains. What is Oakland to Denver? It's not very far.
That's what I was doing. Oakland to Denver is 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. You're not driving.
Well, if you want to drive, especially right now when it's probably snowing, the
you
Rockies.
don't want to drive.
It's I've done that drive. It's only 19 hours and 45 minutes. 1,250 miles.
I like it. I do. You think Kipe's going to like it?
It's a good question. I don't see why he wouldn't. He seems to be hip with the times.
Traditionalists are going to, they freaked out. We keep freaking them out. We freak them out with rules, the DH. Now you're going to take away their American League and their National League? The senior circuit? How are you going to say the senior circuit anymore? I don't know. You'll figure it out. Time for change. And we're going to, trust me, 10 years from now. Now, problem is a lot of people who are not going to like it may not be here 10 years from now. But 10 years from now, Giants A's? Are you kidding me? These kids will grow up seeing it all the time. They'll love it. It blossoms into this great, and you're going to lose. I mean, you lose some rivalries. You lose Dodgers, Giants. You lose Cardinals, Cubs. But you know what? For the better of the game, long term, years from now, nobody's going to care. Nobody. 10 years, 20. I mean, think, because you make these type moves, not for now. It's for the future of the game. 20 years from now, no one's going to be like, oh, man, the Dodgers and Giants or the Cardinals and Cubs are not in the same. Who's going to care?
A lot of that, too, is a carryover from New York, though, right? Because they both were in New York.
That's all a carryover from New York.
I mean, I get it now, North, NorCal, SoCal.
Well, we lose that. I always wanted to be one where it was Angels, Dodgers, Giants, A's.
Yeah.
And if we had to take the Padres, fine.
If you want to do a whole California division.
But if we're going to have 4, you got to put 4. We have a bad neighbor in the Mariners that we have to deal with. And then someone's got to take the guys out in the mountain, and we're going to get them.
Would you rather have the Rockies or the Rangers play in division?
Well, we've seen it. No matter what, Rangers has never – Texas and Oakland just don't. It just does. There's no there. I don't know what Colorado is going to bring. I do know great rivalry between the Raiders and the Broncos. I've lived it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I've lived a Denver-Oakland hate relationship. I've seen it, different sport. But I can't – we've never been able to muster Warriors, Mavs.
Yeah, like
I mean, you've had the We Believe team, but there's never been this. Oh my God, it's Golden State against Dallas. It's this rivalry. You can't. A California team can't have a rivalry with a Texas team unless it's Niners, Cowboys, and that was based off the players.
Yeah.
And everybody has a rivalry with the Cowboys.
Spoiler: the Sharks Stars rivalry is not a rivalry.
Well, think about, and people are going to go Niners, Cowboys. Cowboys have a rivalry with Washington, Philly, New York. They're the Cowboys. They got a rivalry with everybody.
Yeah, and the Niners have owned them in the playoffs. It's not even a rivalry in the playoffs anymore, even though people keep trying to make it like it is.
But it's not. I mean, it's just everybody wants to have a rivalry with Dallas.
Yeah, and you go back to
but for us, Arlington, there's no there. We've been in the same division for how many years, and there's no there with Texas teams.
Yeah, it's not like we have the rivalry. We see Eric Nadel and the Rangers broadcasters. We're like, get out of here. We don't like you. Like, there's no. And our fans,
how about this? If the Astros never cheated, right, we would have no animosity towards the Astros.
I agree with that.
There would be zero animosity if there wasn't the cheating scandal.
Yeah, I think you might have the few fans that are mad that they won the World Series. That's what you're mad about? I mean, come on.
No. There wouldn't be. The animosity is based off the cheating scandal. Coming up next, the TV face of your Oakland Athletics, the great Glen Kuiper, next right here on A's Cast Live.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
1972 World Series MVP Gene Tennis joined A's Cast Live and reminisced about the days of being roommates with Sal Bando.
Sal and I had a lot of, we had a great time together for 6.5 years or whatever it was. But him and I would get wrestling matches in the room, and then I'd get the best of him sometime, and then he'd get ticked off, and then he would just literally pick me up and buggy whip me up against the back headboard of the bed, and I'd call Tommy, that's enough. I'm not paying for no stuff broken in this room. We ain't making that kind of money, neither you or me.
Yeah.
So we would get into our scuffles and arguments, and then we'd end up going to dinner together. And he was a great roommate. I had a lot of fun with Sal.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Barrier locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/A'sCast. That's athletics.com/A'sCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/A'sCast today.
Hall of Famer, Cy Young winner, and MVP Raleigh Fingers joined A's Cast Live and discussed what it was like preparing to face Willie Mays.
I grew up idolizing Willie. In fact, when I was a kid, he was my first autograph I got when I was a kid.
Really?
At a Dodger Stadium. And I chased him down in the parking lot at Chavez Ravine at Dodger Stadium when I was about 14, 15 years old. And I asked him for his autograph, and he gave it to me. And then 13 years later, I'm facing him in the World Series, and I'm the last guy to strike him out. The last hit he got in a big league uniform, and his last RBI was off of me.
It was all last hit, last RBI, last K was all you and Willie Mays.
Yep, yeah, in his career. I told Willie, I said, Willie, and when I went in the Hall of Fame, I told Willie that story, and I said, Willie, it's a good thing you gave me the autograph. I'd have drilled your ass.
That was awesome.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
A's fans, there is no better way to stay in touch with the A's and even our players than following us on social media. Just head over to athletics.com/social. That's athletics.com/social for a full list of our social coverage, from player accounts to Twitter handles and more. Now is the time to stay in touch. Head over to athletics.com/social. That's athletics.com/social today.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
I'm excited about this idea.
Are you talking about?
And how about the road trips this could create?
Oh,
and how they do the scheduling.
You talking about the realignment?
Yeah. you could have some killer road trips. I mean, because think about it. How many people have talked about the rarity of going to a town, a great town, and being there for back-to-back series? Like, I remember a few years ago, the A's did a back-to-back Cubs-White Sox, and it seemed like everybody in our front office went. It was the Chicago week. Did we play 4 in Chicago and against the White Sox and 3 against the Cubs or something? People went for like a week. I mean, to have like New York, but now you could have a road trip that would be, playing the Yankees and the Mets and the Red Sox. I mean, you talk about a road trip. I mean, unbelievable. And a man who has traveled the entire country over and over again. Glenn, how are you?
Hi, Tony. How's it going?
We were just talking about this article that's come out that has said once we get going with Oakland being ready for a stadium, Tampa ready for a stadium, and expanding to 32 teams, what it could look like with full-on realignment. And we went over it, and I thought, you know what? The list is actually pretty good to where travel would be cut down. We'd actually be using real good geography to place people and where they need to be. And I was also saying you could have some incredible road trips for the fans when you have 2 straight series in New York, 2 straight series in Chicago or Southern California. It could be epic for fans.
Yeah, we're probably talking about the same article. I saw, I think it was in The Athletic, and it was terrific. Yeah, it's interesting. Listen, it's going to happen. I mean, the 32 teams, that's 32 is sort of the perfect number, for as far as having the right amount of teams in the league, whether it be NFL, NBA. It just fits, right? 16 and 16, 4 divisions of 8, 8 divisions of 4. There's so many different things you can do, but I saw it and I liked it. I did. I liked it. I think there's going to be maybe some feedback on the elimination of American League and National League.
Yeah.
But that's, is that worth it? I mean, you're just really going to almost like football where you have the Western Conference, Eastern Conference. I don't know how that would all work out, but to me, that's sort of minor stuff compared to the things you were talking about and how great it would be. And I'm with you. Cubs and White Sox together, same division, A's, Giants. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The only problem that we have is that somebody's got to take the Rockies. It's just it is what it is. But we'll swallow the Rockies. We'll swallow it. We've seen a good Denver-Oakland matchup with the Raiders and the Broncos. It can live. You grew up in Wisconsin, the great state of Wisconsin, and I love this Midwest because you got Cubs, White Sox, then you throw in Brewers and Twins. I mean, take us through that perspective, because we already know the great rivalry of the Green Bay Packers is the Chicago Bears.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, and you could say that about a lot of these, which would be 4-team divisions, but that's a perfect example. I mean, the 2 Chicago teams is great, and then Milwaukee, Wisconsin people hate Illinois people, vice versa. Minnesota people don't like Wisconsin people. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a perfect example. But you're going to get that, you're going to get that in pretty much all of these divisions, right? I mean, Giants and A's and Dodgers and Angels and Padres, and I mean, you could go on and on. I think it's pretty cool. I'm for these changes. I really am, because not only do I think it's progress, even though baseball fans are not always totally into big changes, but I think it's going to happen, and I think that the whole realignment thing is going to be part of it. Now, how they all do that, that's a different story. But I thought it was great too when I read it, and I'm pulling it up here, and yeah, it's just
makes sense.
I mean,
it just makes sense.
How about How about Astros, Royals, Cardinals, Rangers? That's in the Southwest Division, guys. The Southwest Division.
Yeah, I was trying to tell everybody that years ago, before there was an Astros and before the Texas Rangers, that St. Louis and the Midwest, their fan base, whether it's Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Iowa, Nebraska, they're all Cardinal fans. The Cardinals absolutely dominate the the Midwest part, especially the Southwest too. So that makes sense. And you know what people have to learn is when you talk about great rivalries, people out west will learn about the great rivalries between Wisconsin and Minnesota. When we talk about the Badgers against the Golden Gophers, that is a hated old school rivalry.
No, yeah, University of Minnesota. I don't even know. Do they have sports there? I don't even know what's going on there.
But
I'm too old to be acting like that, Tony. I have to behave myself.
You're never too old. But I just, you know what, the thing is that, and something that you've lived your entire baseball career, whether you're A's, Giants, Mariners, we just fly more than anybody else. And the travel between the East Coast teams for the West Coast team, the reality is it's just not fair.
No, it's brutal. And the thing is, Tony, with that is it's just what we do. I've never known any other baseball flying, right? So we fly a lot. We are used to it. But then when you talk to guys who are with the Indians or the Tigers or the Brewers or the White Sox, those teams right in the middle who have really, short flights everywhere, they're like, man, that's brutal. Well, we don't even know it because it's just what we do. But it's going to be bad this year. I mean, I think we added 9,000 travel miles this year because, we go east like 5 times. So, yeah, it's not great. It's not great, but it's just what we always do. So we're almost used to it.
I think when people hear it, they don't understand that, there's an art to traveling and how to travel and how to sleep on a plane and how, because it beats up your body. And more importantly, it really beats up on the athletes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. Nobody cares about, the guys in the front of the plane, us guys. But, yeah, I mean, these athletes, baseball players, whatever sport it may be, it's not good for your body, to be on an airplane a lot. It's not good for, healing or anything like that. So it is a factor. There's no doubt it's a factor. And we're really even, kind of going past, hey, we're tired, we just had a 6-hour flight. It's really even more than that. I think, like you said, from a player standpoint, I do think it has a negative effect on their body, especially when you're banged up toward the end of the year.
No doubt about it. And this would just make it more apples to apples by having less of those trips and playing more of the teams. I just think, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, the rivalries, when you're talking about how, we're looking at a map where the Yankees and the Mets are like 9 miles from each other. The Cubs and White Sox are 11 miles. We're 13 miles from the Giants. I just think years from now, how great would every year playing against each other, the true rivalry, what it could be between like the Giants and the A's.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. And so if you just start adding up the positives of it, which, what you're talking about is certainly one. The travel, I think, is huge. I think that's a very big deal. And then I think the big picture is, would it be good for baseball just in general? And I say, yeah, heck yeah. How about that Eastern Division? Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, Phillies. I mean, how much fun would that be to watch?
Oh, I just everyone is great. The only one I keep looking at that it's like Denver. Somebody's got to take the Rockies. Everywhere else I look, it just all makes sense. For you, spring training right around the corner. I'm hearing you're going to be calling some games for us here on A's Cast.
Well, I'm gonna just 2 or 3. get to work with Johnny Doskow, which, Johnny's the best. We're super excited to have him on the team. I love that guy. We've known him for a long time, so he's going to be great. And you know what? It doesn't hurt to be versatile, right, Tony? Play different positions. That's what I'm saying. So, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. And gosh, it's amazing that next week guys are going to be teeing it up, huh?
I just can't wait to get my white legs back into the sun and get some shorts on.
Yeah. Be careful with the white legs, though, Tony. I've seen them. I don't know. Pants are an option too for you if you want to go that route. It's up to you.
I look like a snowbird from Chicago right now. It's time to get some sun.
Yeah, I know. You know what? You and I just make an effort to maybe tan down the left field line like the great Bill King used to do.
Oh, God. Get a Speedo, a little baby oil. Let's go.
Do what you got to do. You do what you got to do. So I'm excited. You know what? It's that time of year where you really start to think about it. And boy, once the middle of January gets to you, then the season really comes at you fast, and then it gets exciting.
So for you getting ready for this season, obviously we're going to do some play-by-play. There's the storylines. What are some of the things you're thinking about with the 2023 Athletics?
Well, you know what? Listen, it's going to be a very young team again. We all know that. Is a team going to win 90 games? Listen, probably not. But I think the group of young players that are now close to the big leagues or in the big leagues, to me, it's become, or to me, it's a more attractive group. I think it's a more talented group than maybe what we were looking at last year when, the trades were all finalized and you said, well, this is who we got. I think this year there's just more young talent to get excited about. You look at all these young pitchers, and I'm looking forward to seeing them all. We saw a couple of them last year, but there's more this year. You're excited about Langoliers. You're excited about the Ruiz kid who we got in the trade and got a chance to be a center fielder. So there's just, I just think there's more talent. It's young talent. It's going to take a while, but there's more to work with.
And if we play the what if game, what if Aguilar, what if Seth Brown can both have pretty good years? I mean, could you see that's where the pop truly comes from?
Oh, no question. I'm excited about Seth Brown. I thought he was, he was kind of hot and cold the first half, but if you look at his second half numbers last year, he was really good. And I think maybe him settling in more to a position, I think you'll probably see him mostly in the outfield. I don't know that for sure, but that's sort of the vibe I'm getting. I think if you can plant Seth Brown in, left field or, however you want to do it, and just let him play every day from the improvements he made from the first half to the second half last year, you got yourself a pretty good player, I think. And, you look at Aguilar, you hope he turns it around, had a great year in 21, not a good year last year. These are all guys that you hope turn it around, obviously. And then you mix in these young kids and, we're excited about that. And, Tony Kemp's a good player. We love the catcher, Langoliers, so there's some things there to work with. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
And then we're going to have all the new rules. Where are you? How you feeling about all the new rules?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I was hoping we could talk about it. I'm good with it. Of course, I don't, I could change my mind a week in. I don't think I will. And the reason I'm good with it, Townie, is we obviously have to see how this all works out. But I think I just like the fact that Major League Baseball maybe saw some issues that needed to be fixed, and they're doing something about it. Now, you and I may not agree that we like the rule changes. We may not, other people may not, but the effort is being made to improve the game. to improve areas that the fans are saying, I don't like that. And that's why I like what Major League Baseball is trying to do. We're all in a holding pattern on whether these things are going to work. But like I said, I just feel like the heart is in the right place with these things, trying to make the game more interesting and a better pace. And for that, I'm excited about it, but I think it is going to be a big deal. We just got a big, about hour and a half video from MLB, us TV guys, and I've been watching it, and they go over it. It's very super informative, and it's very interesting. I mean, this thing has been looked at and studied for years now, and it's going to change the game. I think the game is going to be different. They're calling it's not a pitch clock. The official terminology, Tony, is pitch timer. Okay. But without the pitch timer in the minor leagues in 2021, games were 3 hours and 3 minutes on average. Last year, with the pitch timer in the minor leagues, games were 2 hours and 38 minutes.
Sold.
That's a 25 minute.
Sold. I'm sold.
Right? I mean, and we're talking about minor leagues, and I get it, but it's going to make a significant difference. I think the pitch timer thing. I really, really think it's going to help.
Well, I just think all that time with you and Ray, and now you at Dallas, and you're on live television for 3 hours and 30, 3 hours and 45. That is a long time to be on television, especially when there's not a whole lot of action going on.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a great point, Tony. And I did 158 games last year. So I got a pretty good idea, how games are moving along. But I got a decent idea.
Yeah. It's not your first rodeo.
No, but I can tell you, on average, and this is an educated guess. I bet this happens once per half inning. Okay, where there is not a ball put in play for 3 to 4 minutes straight. Now you think about that. Nothing going on, whether it be a walk, a strikeout, foul balls, taking pitches, nothing going on. No ball put in play. I'm telling you, 2, 3, 4 minute stretches almost every half inning. That's the problem, if you ask me. There's just nothing going on. And listen, there's times when Dallas and I look at each other and go, let's get some action. And it's not individual teams. It's just the way the game is now. And Major League Baseball sees the same thing, and they're trying to make this a little more exciting. And I really hope it works. And I just like the fact that they're trying. That's the most important thing to me.
Yeah, and as you're talking about, there's only so many times you can say, hey, last year in Double-A, this guy did this, or this guy won the community. Yeah. This guy won the community award back in Arlington. I mean, there's only so much you could fill. I mean, we need action. And one of the things,
that's right.
One of the things, we always do big, bold predictions in spring training. And one of the things that I'm really thinking about is I think the stolen base numbers are going to skyrocket, because you just think from a you think from a pitcher's perspective, you think from a base runner's perspective. If you know that guy can't throw over all the time, that's going to mess with the pitchers. It's going to make the runners greedy. I mean, you as a former player, just think about knowing that a guy can't throw over anymore, or he's scared to throw one more time for a balk. You're gone.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons they did this. It is a little, it's tough on the pitchers, but in this video that I'm telling you about from Major League Baseball, they did a lot of research with the fans. They asked thousands and thousands of fans, and the biggest response was, what did fans want? They said they want more stolen bases and they want more doubles and triples. So there's that action that you get, and listen, Tony, you were a pitcher. I mean, it takes away a little strategy from the pitcher, not, can only throw over twice. And I know Dallas, he doesn't like it for obvious reasons because he was really good at holding runners and that kind of thing. But maybe there's a new strategy within that, right? Well, when is he going to throw over, right? So there's a lot of different things. But with the bases a little bit bigger, with that stuff, it's all geared toward let's get some more action on the bases. And I think that will work too. I hope guys start stealing bases. Remember how exciting it was, Townie, the last half of 2021 when Starling Marte came over and he was stealing bags like crazy. And we looked at each other and said, this is great, because he got on base and you were like, okay, I think he's going. And it was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little bit of that back into the game where guys, your league leader is stealing 75 bases instead of 45. I think that's a big deal. And I think that's going to happen.
And you remember growing up and you're taking hitting lessons. I even remember at one point I was doing hitting lessons with little kids, and the approach was always teach everybody, hit it back up the middle, hit it back at the pitcher, hit it back up the middle. And that has always been a line drive back up the middle has always been a base hit. Now with the shifts, that's an out. I can't wait for stuff like a line drive back up the middle to be a base hit.
Yeah, I know. The shift thing is going to be interesting too. It's the one thing that I'm good with. I may not be fully into it yet, but I think it's the right thing to do. You are taking away a fairly significant strategy for teams where they do a lot of work on where to put guys, right? But what I do think is going to happen with these shifts, Townie, is I think the second base position defensively, it's always important, but I think it will now become even more important. You better have some pretty good range. Your second baseman needs to have some pretty good range because he's on the dirt. So little things like that, I think, are going to come into play. All of a sudden, the individual player, hey, we need to make sure we got somebody at second base who can pick it. So now that becomes a thing, right? So I think everybody needs to be patient. I think spring training is just going to be a trial by air. I think it's going to be a little weird sometimes. I think the players are going to get pissed because they're going to get called for stuff, right? The pitchers are going to get called for it. The hitters are going to get called for it. But let's hope that they understand what's going on. And Townie, umpires are going to call this stuff. There's not going to be like, well, they are going to call it. I think they're being instructed to call it, and they're going to. So, listen, if it's 3-2 and the bases are loaded, and the pitcher takes longer than 20 seconds to deliver a pitch, it's going to be a ball, and it's going to walk in a run. So this is going to be a big part of the game, and fans are just going to have to kind of sit back, watch, and they will see the results, but they will also see some growing pains with the players, the pitchers, the hitters, and even the umpires. Yeah, you make a good point about the middle infielders. They're going to need athleticism again. It's one of the beautiful parts of our game is that great athletes. And what shifting did was allowed you to hide bad defenders in the infield. You're not going to have that anymore. And I think that is going to be good. You got me all fired up. I'm ready. Let's go. Yeah, I am fired up. And just so you know, Townie, just so you know, bases are empty. Pitchers got 15 seconds to throw it. Runners on base, they got 20 seconds to throw it. You being a former pitcher, keep that in mind. Get 15 with the bases empty, 20 seconds with the runner on. No messing around. You know what I think of myself as now? A post-game show host. Let's hurry this thing up. Oh, yeah. I think we're going to be good. I think games are going to be 2 hours and 40 minutes, and it'll give you an extra 20 minutes to talk to our great fans. And, they love their Uncle Townie, so it's going to give you a little more time to bond with our great fans. I can't remember the last time I came on at 9:30. I can't wait for that. Oh, you'll be well into your show at 9:30 this year. 6:40 start from the Coliseum. Oh, my gosh. You'll be You'll be in segment 3 by then.
Oh, I'll be heaven. All right, buddy. We will talk to you when you're doing games down in Arizona, because we're going to be doing the pregame show for all of them.
Great. Can't wait to see you soon, Tony.
All right, be well.
See you, buddy.
The great Glen Kuiper, the TV face of your Oakland Athletics. I'm telling you, guys that they have been hiding in the middle of the diamond with shifts because of their bats are going to get exposed.
Yeah, you can't switch the second baseman and put him at shortstop and move the shortstop to second base now either.
Your shortstop better be able to he better have lateral movement. Got to be, and second base, you got to be able to go left. You got to be able to go right. You got to make the backhanded play. You got to make all your plays now. And as a shortstop, not only do you got to have the range, your lateral movement, you got to have an arm. No more shifting 3 guys on the left side so you don't have that much space to defend. Now you're going to have your third baseman. Your third baseman's got to be able to go to his left. He's got to be able to do the backhand over the bag. He's got to be able to come forward. Yeah, defense is going to be a lot of fun. And yes, I'm telling you now, when we do our big, bold predictions, I've been talking myself into, I think stolen bases are going to jump far more than people know. I mean, just think as a pitcher. You got a guy leading off first. He's got a big lead. What are you going to do? Throw over. You got 2 more. Takes another big lead. What are you going to do? If he knows you don't want to throw over on throw 2 or 3, what's going to happen?
It's going to go.
He's going. And then now let's say big lead, you throw over. Big lead again, you throw over. You're now down to 1 throw, and you better get the guy or it's a balk. I'm thinking purely as a right-handed pitcher. If you are smart, you are going to play mind games with the pitcher. And, oh, by the way, the pitcher can't sit there and hold it and hold it and hold it and try and freeze you because he's got to go. He's got 20 seconds. So you already know the timing of everything as a runner. You know the pitcher doesn't want to throw over. You know the pitch timer is against him. This is all playing into the hands of a base stealer. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I'm telling you. 80 stolen bases, 70 stolen bases, 60. We're going to see some big numbers from guys. And if they keep this rule, which I don't think they will, but if they keep this rule, the throw over rule, it's just going to grow stolen bases for everybody. Why wouldn't you run? You've got a timer. There's a timer there as a runner. You know if this guy hasn't thrown over with 18 seconds, he's not coming over. You're going to know the tendencies. They're going to scout the pitcher's tendencies. You're going to see that certain pitchers are going to throw over. If they do, will be in the first 10 seconds. They'll be, you have 20 seconds, right? With a runner on first?
Yes.
Okay.
Seconds.
There'll be scouting reports because we scout everything that's going to say he'll throw over in the first 10 seconds. The last 10 seconds, he's not thrown over. I'm gone.
Yeah. And just a reminder too, if to say the batter steals second, it restarts. So you have 3 throwovers every time you steal a base.
I'm always thinking as a right-handers don't like throwing to second base anyway. No. I'm taking a huge lead at second, where you're going to see monster leads.
Yeah,
challenging pitchers and defenses. Because I'm telling you, one of the easiest bags you got 2 bags to steal. You can get monster leads going off second base and steal third. I mean, Ricky Henderson, steal second, steal third, steal second. I do it all the time. If I have any kind of athleticism and wheels, I'm going to take advantage of this because you know what? You know what's going to happen. We're motivated. What's the one thing baseball players are motivated by?
Money.
And all of a sudden, you're stealing more bags. You're scoring more runs because the more you take 90 feet, we're a game of 90 feet. The more you take 90 feet, the better chance you have of touching home plate. The more times you touch home plate, the more you're going to get paid. And once you start seeing guys in arbitration, they start saying, well, my client stole 45 bases. He's getting extra money in arbitration. Or my client just signed a new 4-year deal because he steals bases. Once money incentivizes players, everybody's going to be running, because that's one thing we know players care about. It's money. And if they know they're going to get paid more for stealing bags, we're off to the races, baby, and it'll be nothing but good for our game.
Totally agree. I see that. I mean, we've talked about for a while about stolen bases going up, and we could see a guy on the A's I mean, I think he could do it. I think Seth Brown could be a 20-20 guy for the A's. I'm not going to go as far as saying 40-40. I think 20-20, he hit 25 last year and stole 11. I think he can get up there.
Yeah.
I think Esteury Ruiz will get up if he makes the roster out of camp and he gets a lot of playing time. He could easily steal 40 bases. He stole 85 last year.
85.
Yeah, and between double and triple A. Who else on the team that could steal?
Ramon Laureano, if he's healthy.
Ramon, was couple years ago, was leading baseball.
What about you call him with Dallas Braden, Nicky Knox?
He's now Tony Kemp can steal some bags.
We're the running A's. Let's run.
I don't know if we're going to be as the what year was that? Was that 1978 with Chuck Tanner?
They had 8 zillion stolen bases, like 300 and something stolen bases.
Sorry, I think it was 1976. Let me just double check. 1976, the A's were 87 and 74. That year, they stole a grand total of 341 bases.
341. That's the goal.
And there was no Ricky Henderson on that team either. Who led the team in steals that year?
In 1976?
Yeah.
No idea.
Billy North, 75. Campy, 54. Don Baylor, 52.
God, you don't think about Don Baylor as a base stealer because when you're growing up, he was just this big old dude who hit bombs and wore it in the back. But yeah, Don Baylor he still has the most hit by pitches, right?
Yeah, I think he still does.
Don Baylor, it's hard to think. 52 stolen bases. How big was Don Baylor? He just seemed like a massive man.
6'1", 190, according to Baseball Reference.
Because we just know him as older when he was a lot bigger.
Don Baylor hit 267 times by pitches. There's 2 more guys who stole 30 bags that year for the A's. So you had Billy North with 75, Campy with 54, Don Baylor 52, Claudell Washington with 37.
Claudell was there in 76?
And Phil Garner with 35. And then
Scrap Iron?
And Larry Lintz stole 31 bags with only, wait for it, 1 at bat on the season.
He stole 4 bags and 1 at bat.
I mean, might as well. He had 4 plate appearances, but he played in 68 games. Obviously, a pinch runner.
This was 76.
76. 341 steals.
I was 4 years old.
I wasn't even close to being born yet.
Yeah, I'm going to make some big, bold predictions in spring training along with you, and I think stolen bases are going to be maybe my biggest and boldest.
Hell, Captain Sell had 27 homers and 20 steals. He was a 20-20 guy.
Why wouldn't you? You have a timer, not a clock, a timer. I like how they want to get rid of the dirty word clock, but you have a timer. You know when if maybe a guy's gutsy and he's going to look at the timer and maybe he goes at 19 seconds, he's going to throw over. But I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of pitchers. By the time they get to at least 15 seconds, you're going to have the scouting report. They will not throw over. And you're going to be able to pitch. I mean, if a guy gets to 19, 20, you're gone. You're gone. You're going to time this stuff and you're going to be gone. It's just start. I mean, we'll talk to Mark Kotze and he's probably going to tell me I'm an idiot, but I'm going to be like, man, I tell every guy, you got the green light. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Every guy on our team should have the green light. You ready to go? Go.
The one thing I'm looking for, I'm going to track, obviously, because I'm a nerd. We can't, obviously, the infielders need to stay on the dirt. They can't touch the grass. But how teams align the outfielders is going to be interesting. Especially if you want to, you can't put the shortstop in short right field, but you can move your left fielder to right field. That's not against the rules. So if you're willing to risk a double to get an out, or someone slapping the ball on the third base line past the third baseman all the way to the left field wall because you want to put your left fielder in right field, might pay off for a guy like Joey Gallo who only pulls the ball. But a guy could hit the ball the other way like Matt Olson or Freddie Freeman. You're not going to do it against them. But a guy like Gallo, these extreme pull hitters, Corey Seager, who I think he's going to have a big year now that we don't have to shift. I mean, I think Hembo dropped the set.
He is going to have a brutal year defensively.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying he's going to go
He
glove.
is going to be you're going to look at how much he gives you offensively and how much he gives it back defensively. Seager is not great defensively, and now he's basically spent, his entire career in the shift?
Yeah.
And his defensive metrics are not good. You're going to take that shift away? Good luck.
It's a lot of pressure on Marcus.
Good luck.
Good luck to Marcus.
How much has Marcus played without the shift?
Yeah, now he's playing second, so I guess now we get to see how much what his range is like.
Now we're going to see, guys are going to have to. You're not going to have the shift. You're not going to have less room to cover. You're going to have more room to cover. Let's just see how good some of these infield. How good is your defense? Are we really? I mean, when we talk about the best teams in baseball, we don't really that often say, well, their infield defense. Now we may start talking about fundamentals and how you play defense and who are the best defensive teams. Who picks it up and throws it the best? Who makes the routine plays? Who makes the spectacular plays? Because analytic people never wanted to get into that because they just knew everything, all the outs were happening in shifts.
Yeah, and what team probably was the best last year in infield defense?
Don't know.
That would be probably the team that won the World Series, the Houston Astros.
Don't know.
Oh, and
everybody shifted. Who knows?
And then they also took.
How great is Altuve's range? How great is Pena's range? We're going to see. We have no idea until we see no shifting and guys got to cover more ground. Are we now going to know, all right, who's got the best infield defense?
They're still going to be good. And they also replaced a pretty good first baseman with a outstanding first baseman in Jose Abreu.
Let's just see. I'm not crowning anybody yet.
Bragy's pretty good at third base.
Not crowning anybody yet. You and your love for the Astros, it's disgusting on this program. But yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to, the sharp ground ball, line drive back up the middle being a base hit. Truly squaring it up, doing your job as a hitter, and being rewarded for it.
The two big words we're going to have to follow this year, our boss, Delaire, and I talked about it earlier. Disengagement and violation. I mean, two big words this year used in baseball.
Disengagement?
That's like when you step off the mound to throw, that's one of the words. I believe it was disengagement.
How many times can you disengage?
Well, it's the throwing over to first base, the pickoff.
What if I don't throw over and I just disengage?
I don't know how it would work, but violation also, when apparently the sign for it is going to be something like this, where there's a violation for the striker ball with a clock and over under.
No, think about that. One of the weapons for a right-handed pitcher is to step off and not do anything. Same thing for a lefty. A lefty comes set. He can step off and act like he's going to throw. Actually, I just went out. Put me back on the camera, please. So a lefty they'll show you the ball. They'll step off and show you the ball. What's that?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
You say that's disengagement. Does that count?
It's a good question. I don't have the answer to that.
Why don't you?
I don't know everything.
You're the rules official.
No. There's other people that know more about the rules than I do. I did get a handout. There's a handout in my bag.
But do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like right-handers will step off and look, but they won't throw over. Does that count as a throw over?
I'm making sure that's the word we're looking at for baseball, if that even comes up. I think it's disengage. Oh,
no, go up. They had the definition. Pitchers can only disengage the rubber twice per plate appearance.
I think this is yeah. Third time's is going to be the balk.
So if you're going to disengage, because normally to pick a guy off as a right-hander, you're not going to step off. You're just going to turn and fire. So whether you're stepping off or you're throwing up, you don't have to throw over if you step off. But if you're going to get charged for it, you might as well throw over every time.
Yeah. Real quick, over under 3 guys ejected on opening day for the violations.
I think it's going to be under. I think they're going to be you're going it's spring training. You're going to get it. You're going to get it.
What's weird because they're not using the new rules in the WBC, the World Baseball Classic, which starts on March 8th. They're not using these new rules
because they don't want players learning the rules during the tournament. They want players learning it at spring training.
Well, they're going to learn it. Spring training starts before the tournament.
Yeah, but you're hardly in spring training for the World Baseball Classic.
Games start our first game's the 25th, and the first WBC game is the 8th. So you got like 2 weeks.
Yeah, but you play every day. And you don't play full games. You're getting like a couple at bats.
All I know is
that makes sense. Yeah, I mean,
all I know is Arenado and Goldschmidt are fans of not having it in there.
You should understand. You do not just 2 weeks into it want to implement on something you're trying to showcase the world.
Yeah, but
that's not smart.
But after the World Baseball Classic's over, you have like less than 10 days for the season starts.
I get it, but your baseball, you want to highlight your sport. The last thing you want is guys complaining about rules violations and guys doing it in different languages.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
That just does not make sense. So I understand why they wouldn't do it. But, yeah, these guys, you better learn because you can complain all you want. It's not going to do you any good. No one's going to sit there and say, oh, poor pitcher, you're right. We're not going to make you go within 20 seconds with a runner on. That's the rules. You either adapt or die, as Billy Bean, played by Brad Pitt in Moneyball, said. Adapt or die. You don't like it, you're going to be in trouble. You won't survive. If you don't adjust to the rules, you won't survive. Rule changes happen all the time in sports. You got to be able to adapt, because if you don't, you're in trouble. What do we got Friday?
Well, we're going to have Eno Saris.
Yes.
And we're still working on, this guy's very busy around this time with the Super Bowl. But our old colleague, Joe Fortenbaugh.
We'll have some prop bets for you on Friday.
Yeah, and beginning to talk about MLB win totals also.
Yeah, I love that. MLB win totals are some of the fun. It's a bet that lasts for 6 months, unless your bet is so bad and the team you bet on is performing so bad you know you've already lost. But your bet rides for essentially 6 months. It is a fun wager, as we like to call it. So that will be on Friday. What was the reaction inside our little notes about the changing of the divisions?
Oh, I don't know if we got a lot of. Let's see. Did we get any?
Did we get a lot of the? You can't take away the national.
Someone said the NHL also did realignment with no issues. I haven't heard much from traditionalists since the DH was added to the National League. Then someone said just win, baby. That's one of the comments in there. Yeah, so no one really had an issue with it. Then someone said make the stolen base great again.
That's funny. Yeah, I like it. I think it's, and this list can't be set in stone until we know where the expansion teams are going.
Yeah.
Because if you get, let's just say Montreal is one of the teams, you got to put them in the same division as Toronto.
Yeah, no, now that's in the division with Cleveland.
And let's just say you got Portland.
They're in there with Seattle.
Portland's got to be with Seattle. Now you got dilemma. Now you got a dilemma. Where would you go if you take Portland? Obviously, Portland would need to be with Mariners, A's, and Giants. Now where do you throw the rock pile? Well, you'd be taking Charlotte. You'd be taking Charlotte away from the Mid-Atlantic. And maybe you got to swap somebody. Maybe like Nashville's got to go to the Mid-Atlantic. Well, no. I mean, you got to. So you would take Charlotte out. Let's say Charlotte doesn't get its Nashville and it's Portland. Portland would join us. So that leaves a Mid-Atlantic team out. You're not going to have the Rockies join the Southeast, right?
No.
Or maybe the Southwest.
Yeah, maybe take out the Cardinals.
Yeah, but Kansas City's more east than they are.
You'd rather, I want to see the Cardinals Royals rivalry.
It's a dilemma. Once again, who's our problem? Who's the problem?
The rock pile?
The Rocktober, as they once called it.
What were they called? The Broad Street Bombers?
Not
or it was a Blake Street Bombers.
Blake Street. Broad Street's the Flyers.
The loser Flyers.
So what do you do? If you take Charlotte out, you're in the Mid-Atlantic. Think about, okay, we're on the East Coast here. Who could you take out and make them more an East Coast? You can't say Nashville because
they're in the South.
Actually, Nashville isn't that far. Give me the flight from Nashville to D.C. Because really the Rockies fit. The Rockies really fit with Dallas and Houston.
You said Nashville to where?
Nashville to D.C., our nation's capital.
It is an hour and 55 minutes.
Yeah, see, that's not that far away. If you take Charlotte out, somebody's got to get into this. I mean, maybe Kansas. No. St. Louis is the one. St. Louis is kind of the sticker because St. Louis is closer to D.C. than Kansas City. It's just that stickler once again. Even if you put a team in Portland.
220 from D.C. to St. Louis, by the
You
way.
got to do something with Denver. You got to do something with the Rockies. I don't know what to do with them, but you got to do something. Somebody's going to get hosed to add the Rockies because Portland gets added. Portland's with us. Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Oakland. So if you have Denver, where's Denver go? If we boot Denver, they're not going to the South and they're not going in with the Dodgers, Angels, Padres, D-backs. That's already set. So where do you put Denver? Maybe you realign from a standpoint of Kansas City, St. Louis, Denver into hooking up into a division, and you figure out a way to make Dallas, Houston, Nashville, somebody else that way.
Yeah. I was just trying to think of how you could do it.
It's complicated.
I was trying to think how you could do it with cutting down the teams or the divisions and just have, because there's 4 in each, right? So maybe you cut down and only have 3 divisions. Then I have to logically think out through my head on how the playoffs would work and all that.
But what you could do is Nashville, Dallas, Houston, add somebody to them. But you could do, all right, we're going to put Denver, Kansas City, and St. Louis and add somebody to that.
I'm glad there's someone who makes more money than us that's going to figure this out.
This is happening. This isn't, I mean, for people out there, remember when everybody would tell you the DH is happening? The DH is going to happen. Oh, no, it's not. Nationally, it's going to happen. And what happened?
It happened.
It happened. This is going to happen. There's going to be 32 teams, and they're going to realign. But the stickler is, what are the 2 teams? Even if A's stay in Oakland and Vegas is the team, Vegas would be Oakland, San Francisco, Seattle, Vegas. You still have the problem, where do you put the Rockies? An expansion team in Vegas would kick the Rockies out of the West, officially. Bye-bye.
Yes, I'm just trying to I need more time to think about it. How you could.
Is this just too much for your precious little mind?
No, I'm trying to think of how they do it in the NFL with 32 teams. There's 4 divisions.
Well, they don't go by geography in some, right? Because there's no reason why Oakland, Las Vegas now, and LA Chargers would be in the same division as Kansas City and Denver. Nor would the Cowboys be in a division with Washington, Philly, and New York.
Yeah.
So they buck some of the geography for some of these divisions. We're not. We're trying to make this strictly this is about geography and what's best. Somebody's going to, once again, the sticklers, the Rockies, somebody's going to have to move to accommodate them. So if your expansion is either Portland or Vegas, Rockies get kicked out of the West, then they head towards the Central.
Remember also, people were up in arms when the Astros joined the AL. I don't hear anyone complaining anymore. Oh, that realigned.
I don't even know who those people were, let alone do I remember who they were.
It's because they were the Astros then. They were the laughingstock of the NL Central.
I don't remember. All right, everybody, we will be back on Friday. We're inching closer and closer and closer. And hopefully our preview stuff. When's all the preview? Is it coming after the Super Bowl?
Probably.
Where's all of our preview articles? I'm waiting.
We'll start previewing.
I don't want to hear 3 storylines, like the storylines. No offense. I'll give you this one. This is just, is Christian Pache still a part of the future? I don't really even see Pache as a huge storyline going into spring. He's got to earn his way to even be a storyline.
Yeah.
Christian Pache was, the A's traded for him. He had a first good couple weeks, made some plays. Everybody overhyped him.
Hit the ball hard.
And then all of a sudden could not make contact And
he's back in Vegas.
He is a non-factor. He's got to do something to make himself a factor. Because right now, he's not even in my storylines. I'm more excited. I mean, once they picked up Ruiz and you got Laureano, where does Pache even fit right now? Like, I can't even have him in my storylines. He's got to do something to even get into the storyline category.
He needs to have a big spring.
He needs to make contact.
Yeah, and stop telling me about hard hit rate.
2 hoppers to short your hard hit rate. Thank you.
Or expected batting average.
So we got a lot coming up on Friday. Everybody, thank you for listening and watching A's Cast Live. And thank you for watching A's Cast and listening to A's Cast throughout the week. And we'll see everybody on Friday.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends.